Alright people, how are you? It's been tough trying to record this episode, but I think we'll get there in the end. So basically, I started recording this episode yesterday, got up to the team selection, and I've been waiting all week, for Saturday to finally find some time to record this double episode, which is of course going to be Chelsea and Liverpool both in the league. And then my dad walks into my room and demands that I install a new SSD and reformat his computer for him. I just think it was funny how it was the same SSD that I bought for him last Black Friday, and he picked that specific moment as soon as we were in the middle of a recording for me to just, provide the goods. But anyways, hopefully no one's going to randomly burst into my room throughout this recording. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, as you can probably tell from my voice. I have a lot of these early morning recordings. I'll probably end up saying a lot of stupid stuff, probably end up making a lot of tactical incorrect decisions. If that does happen, well, I've only got myself to blame. So, last episode was the double episode versus Arsenal, of course. 4-0 against the youngsters, and just about, after taking a 3-0 lead, managing to get all 3 points in the Premier League. And obviously, 3 points against Arsenal, very important for us in context of how the league looks at the moment. It's still incredibly tight, and to be honest, come this second half of the season, we can't afford to slip up, because you can bet whatever the hell you want to bet on it that that Arsenal and United will be looking to capitalise. I think it's quite interesting as well that Newcastle are in 4th place, but I don't think they'll be able to maintain that, to be fully honest with you. We lost 1-0 to Monaco, which I wasn't really too fussed about, because I went into the game with a weakened side, knowing, of course, that regardless what the final score was, we were always going to top our group, which is why we see players like Dionisio, Romeu at centre-back, Morales, Nigel, Kunz, all really playing. I wanted to give Barbosa a run around, who for me has really been lacking since the first few games of the season, and he failed to score again. We then played West Ham, and to be fair, we took a 3-0 lead before the first half even finished. So the second half was just allowing some youngsters to come on, get some game time under their belts, and of course, giving Barbosa another opportunity to really impress, and he failed. So, in fact, I'm going to do this on camera right now, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. So, criticise recent form. He agrees, which is good. So hopefully that'll kind of give him a kick up the bum. The last time Piaka wasn't scoring and was kind of underperforming, did the same talk with him, and it certainly made a difference. And then we went away to the King Power Stadium, where we played Leicester. Now, Leicester are kind of a team that I have a bit of a soft spot for. I don't think I've ever mentioned it before. I don't think we've actually live-commed Leicester too often, but I went to uni in Leicester, so the year I was born in Blackburn, Blackburn won the Premier League. The year I graduated from Leicester, Leicester won the Premier League. We completely dominated the game, and in terms of the players that we played a very strong side as well. Nano came in because Andre Gray was of course injured. It's almost like Nano comes back from injury, Andre gets injured, and we're constantly swapping the two out. And it looks like he's going to take a little bit of time to refine his form, because he has, of course, been out for quite a while, kind of lost some physicals as well. We'll have to wait and see how, he starts fighting into this season, because last season, 16 goals, 33 appearances, overall 21 goals in 42 appearances. He was our top goal scorer last season, so we'll have to wait and see whether he can refine that form. But for me, I don't understand why Zila in particular has only a 6.9 rating. We had 8 shots on target, all 8 of them were saved, and some of them were real good opportunities as well, so I don't know how he's got a 6.9, but yeah, Blaster wanted to do one and only one thing, which was part the bus. We did what we could to try and open him up. We did that pretty well, but just couldn't find the back of the net in the end. And what really worries me is that, I feel like these games where we drop points could end up making a difference come the end of the season. And in a way, it makes beating Chelsea and Liverpool this episode even more important. So without further ado, let's try and tackle Chelsea. Right then, here we are at Stamford Bridge. So, Chelsea's kick-off, playing with their 4-4-2. And I'm quite familiar at this point with how Chelsea really play currently in our makeshift world. So they've kind of gone down the regen route as of recent years. They've got two very physical young strikers up front in the form of Motta and Omeredis. Now, lacking technically this guy, but he's going to really drop off and try and utilise that passing attribute a little bit more, but still physically very, very fast. 16 acceleration, 17 pace. So for that reason, we don't want to go too adventurous with our defensive line. Now, Morales comes in to protect our back two, but generally speaking, we have quite a pacey back two, and to be fair, quite a pacey back four in general. Along with the sweeper keeper. So hopefully we'll be able to keep him quiet. Motta, pretty decent player as well. Described as a wonder kid. It's easy to see why. 7 goals so far this season in the Premier League. We actually knew about him, but he's not really our type of striker. He is, of course, going to have to be a player we're going to be very, very careful of. Now, in terms of how Chelsea are going to be looking to play, they're going to be looking to play on the counter with Oscar as their main playmaker. So for that reason, opposition instruction-wise, we are going to be trying to tackle in hard on Oscar. And generally speaking, I see really both these two wingers. This guy is going to be more of a wide playmaker, looking to cut in on his right and come in inside, whilst Bello and Stojanovic, most of their fast-paced attacks are going to be down this right-hand side and our left-hand side. Bello, 16 acceleration, 17 pace, very, very good player. Signed from Genk, I believe, for £26.5 million. Shame we didn't spot him. And Stojanovic, if you compare him with Nathan Ake, you can see he is slightly more forward, very pacey as well. Decent crossing, decent tackling, decent marking and passing. So, like I said, for that reason, Augustinsson's going to be a little bit more conservative down this left-hand side. Barbosa's going to have to do quite a bit of tracking back, but he's relatively all right when it comes to that, even though his work rate isn't exactly great. Piaka really would have been ideal. He does a lot of tracking back. So for Chelsea at left back, they've got Nathan Ake. It's easy to see why he's at left back, but he doesn't really come across as a type of player who is that defensively sound and simultaneously that great going forwards. And then we've got Christensen, who may have 17 pace. Now, I was actually anticipating Chelsea playing a different centre-back, Nastasic, and that's kind of why I've gone for Varjek on attack, Rog there with a lot of pace, and Kunz on the right-hand side with Nyang down the middle. The idea is when Rog starts using his 16 acceleration, making runs into the box, just to overwhelm this slightly slower side of Chelsea, while staying a bit more conservative on the opposite side, which is where Chelsea are going to be looking to attack from. Christensen, 17 pace, but only 11 acceleration. So I still feel like early on, put a bit of pressure down this side, get Varjek overlapping, give Nathan Ake 1 or 2 things to worry about. Vitolo probably won't do that much tracking back in terms of his marking and in terms of his tackling, or he might try and get behind the ball, but we should be able to outpace him really, and hopefully apply a lot of pressure to Nathan Ake, get balls into the box, and that'll see us score goals. What's important for us is that we still stay conservative. We're going to be going for shorter passing and retain possession, simply because this is a 4-4-2. This is a Chelsea side that are going to be wanting us to make mistakes so that they can capitalise and attack down this right-hand side and utilise the pace they've got in the team. Then Donker, yellow carded already. Stojanovic is going to throw the ball into Bello, and that is a really good save from Szczesny. But generally speaking, that was, for me, just far too easy for Chelsea to carve out that opportunity. So 22 minutes in, we've still really not seen much. Apparently we are generating shots 40 minutes in, 45 minutes in. That was the quickest first half of my life. So the question at hand now is, how on earth do we try and change this, because we've not really seen much. Now, we know we've got a lot of possession, and the chance that Chelsea had didn't really stem from a counter-attack, which means in terms of how that's going, that's definitely gone according to plan. We've tried focusing most of our attacks down this side and haven't really seen anything. Then Donker's on a yellow card, so straight away, let's try and, force him into making a mistake. But the idea now is that these guys are going to be pushing forward. Chelsea are going to be trying in this last 45 minutes to get men forward and try and, really try and find a winner. So if we hopefully move Nyang slightly wider, they'll be more aware of the fact that he's there, and it will cause them to be a little bit more conservative themselves. I think Augustinson will be given a little bit more of a license to roam. And, it's a gamble. It really is a gamble. But we are going to up our defensive line a little bit, change to a mixed passing directness, and just hope that these guys can cope with it. My gut feeling tells me they'll be fine. I don't want to make too many personnel changes just yet. You see, with them playing a 4-4-2 and with us having this triangle of three in midfield and the fact that we play out the back and stuff, it doesn't surprise me we have more possession. I think it's finding that right level of incisiveness in the final third where we've really struggled, which is natural given that both Andre Gray and our old mate Piaka are out injured. Barbosa's really struggled, and you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet and do that. So really, I just want to get a feel for how we're going to start this second half. So straight away, we can see that their fullbacks will be a little bit more occupied now. We've gone with a little bit more direct passing, so hopefully we should start causing them more problems. Barbosa has got to score there. I'm sorry about the cursor, but Barbosa's got to score there. Now, the good thing is, ever since switching to those slightly wider forwards, we've kind of come... Oh, good tackle that. We've kind of come straight on in... we've come on straight on in this second half and almost had two clear-cut chances there. Really well played from Niang. But we really do have to keep an eye on this clock. We are still creating opportunities. So for that reason, I think it's about time we try to honestly just go a little bit even more positive. Now, one thing I've noticed straight away is that Oscar's actually moved out to the left-hand side and Timothy Fosu-Mensah has come on in the middle, which means that they kind of have Fosu-Mensah and Oscar both playing, Fosu-Mensah and Dendoncker both playing down the middle, which straight away to me suggests that we should be looking to try and utilise width, because the wide players they've currently got aren't actually going to do that much tracking back. So I'm going to undo everything I've just done now that I've noticed that and try and go down a completely different route. Now, I feel like we could do with some pace on the left-hand side. I think Marco's right-footed. So Marco, but he's still, very, very fast. So he's going to become a winger on support and play very similar to how Yang himself is playing. And Kunz is going to move into centre mid. We know he can play there. He's got a lot of pace on him, so he'll be able to make surging runs forwards past those kind of two slower defensive midfielders. And we'll play Barbosa really as a deep line forward on attack. Now change our instructions to actually look to exploit both flanks. We're already really looking for the overlap, but I'll tell him to be a little bit more expressive as well. Let's see what we can create out of him. Move him back to automatics to be a little bit more conservative. But we're slowly but surely starting to dedicate a few more men forwards, trying to adapt based on their individual personnel. You can understand my logic now that Fosu-Mensah's come on. They're no longer looking to use that playmaker down the middle, but rather utilise the size themselves, and these guys ain't going to do that much tracking back. There we go, 67, 68. We're still seeing absolutely nothing. This is incredibly frustrating. Okay, so we're going to go attacking. I feel like, this is a game where we really need points. We've not really made a proper sub yet, so Varella's going to come on as a fullback. Augustinsson's going to be changed. In fact, they're looking to attack mostly down that side, so he's not going to change to automatic. Change your keeper to support, and what we'll also do is, don't want to move Morales forward actually, because they are playing two up front. It's very difficult to see how we're going to change this game, but what I will do is change Nano to an advanced forward, change both of these guys onto attacking duty, and what else could we potentially do? I think one thing we're going to do is, it's almost like, does Sousa come on? Or does Nigel come on? I feel like Nigel kind of has a bit of a strange X factor around him. He grabs goals from a distance, so this is your chance, Nigel. You wanted a new contract. You think you're good enough for this club. I'm not entirely convinced yet. This is your chance to really make a difference. Alenya bails us out again. It's not the first time he's done that. And to be fair, I think we deserve it. We've been the better side. A lot of our shots have been off target, which is kind of understandable. I think, given that we're lacking some key players up front. But yeah, we should be able to now see this game out, hopefully. And probably specifically wasn't any of the changes, individually made. Jesus Christ, that was close. And hopefully you guys can kind of see the logic behind the changes we did make based on, changes Chelsea made in their shape. But given that we've got both Andre Gray and Piaka out, I will take this 1-0 win. But it just goes to show how much of an important player this legend has really become for us. 18 free kick taking. Douglas wasn't on the pitch. He stepped up, had a pop, and hit the back of the net. If Chelsea can do us a favour and beat Arsenal, then that's a decent amount of breathing space. We have Liverpool next, who are a much better side than Chelsea. Chelsea have been really underwhelming ever since the start of this save, let's be fully honest. So that's going to be another tough away game. Ideally, 3 points, but I'll probably take a point depending on whether or not Arsenal can win their game. I really want to make sure we are going into the Christmas period. Well, we are in the Christmas period, actually. It's the 18th of December, but rather the January transfer window, top of the league, ready to rumble, ready to, flog a few players off and see if we can maybe bring in a loan or two to try and buff up numbers, but we'll have to wait and see. Also, since we're here, now one of my scouts has just reminded me of Jefferson. Now, I'm not sure if I've shown Jefferson to you guys before, but he's kind of this Brazilian centre-back who we'd be able to kind of buy on the cheap. We tried signing him in the past, but we ended up going with Volkvist in the end, I think it was. 17 heading, 17 marking, 17 tackling, 15 position. This guy's really good in terms of the attributes you want from a centre-back, and we'd be able to get him pretty cheap as well and wants to leave his club. The only worry for me is that he's really more of a limited centre-back, and we like our centre-backs to play out the back, and we like relatively pacey centre-backs. He's not that pacey, and in terms of his technical ability, this guy's more of kind of like a traditional centre-back rather than someone I'd be comfortable playing out the back with. But he'd be pretty cheap, so could end up being decent backup to Dumic. So if we do end up selling Demirbay in January, that'll free up his 70k a week wages, and we'd probably be able to bring in Jefferson on a slightly small pay rise as a backup player to maybe 35k a week. Let me know whether you guys think I should sign him or not. Of course, we are still kind of playing with fire in terms of FFP. I'm kind of hoping that selling Demirbay in January will fix that. But yeah, let me know what you think. Here we are at Anfield then. So just a quick update. Arsenal drew to Chelsea. So credit where it's due to Chelsea, even though Steve Clarke got the sack right afterwards. So unlucky, but I guess you can understand why he got the sack given that they've just dropped into the bottom half of the Premier League. We are up against Newcastle. Not Newcastle, Liverpool. Completely different colours. Not quite sure how I'll mix them two up. In terms of their starting lineup, 4-2-3-1. Firmino playing in the hole, who actually... Let's tell Douglas to do his thing. A lot of pace, really, in general, amongst this front four. So it's going to be hard. They're going to be looking to more than likely try and hit us on the counter under this current manager rather than try and play possession football and whatnot. That's why they've got Goretzka and Henderson, two pretty technical midfielders, but more importantly, very physical midfielders. So I'm not sure it's going to work too great for us to try and, again, play through the middle. We could find ourselves in a very similar scenario where we might have to switch to wide men like we did against Chelsea. What's important for me is to retain possession now for the first 10 minutes or so, see a few of these key highlights, get a rough idea how both teams are really adapting to each other, and then modify things thereon. Piaka comes back into the side, which is good news given that he's on the same side as Nathaniel Klein, who's going to be looking to bomb forward quite a lot. And let's be honest, both Klein and Moreno, can't believe we're so many seasons in and Liverpool's defence still looks as shit as it always seems to be. Moreno and Klein aren't exactly the most defensive, and Coutinho and Berardi won't do that much tracking back either. For that reason, fullbacks on automatic. Varjek has been injured in training, so Varela comes in. A very, very good servant to the club, has been with us for quite a while, and he always pops up with the odd assist every now and then. Morales comes in instead of Rog. Rog could come on at half time, but other than that, we're looking for the overlap, as expected. Looking to retain possession nice and early on. But I do really feel like, because these guys won't do that much tracking back, and we're not going to have much luck trying to break through these two, Or we might do if Goretzka starts going forward a little bit more than I may be anticipating, then hopefully we'll start to get balls into the box and create chances. Now, a 31-year-old Mohamed Dusako, still very, very good, and they've got Veljovic at the back, who isn't exactly the paciest of centre-backs. I'm kind of hoping that Nano's pace and Niang in particular, in fact, my entire front three do cause Veljovic in particular problems. But yeah, let's jump into the game. And the reason why I was obviously mentioning Rog was because Rog is really good when it comes to kind of like making them bursts. Oh, we're on the wrong mentality here, lads. He's really good when it comes to making late bursts from midfield into the box, or playing 1-2s with one of our front three and then running past the centre-back. And his 16 acceleration would work really well against Varjovic, or whatever the hell he's called. But it does seem like we've got a penalty, and it's going to be good old Carlos Alenya to take it. He got the winner against Chelsea, didn't he? He's been in fine form, this lad. Oh, God. I jinxed it. We've missed far too many penalties this season. I might have to change who's taking them, actually. It's normally Andre Gray, who doesn't really miss them, to be honest. But it's very disappointing that we've just let Liverpool get away with that one. Couldn't we score just before half-time? It is something we like to do. Alenya finds Douglas, who's just in the hole, who's getting closed down by Vieto up front. Yang looking to use his pace. I'd like to see him maybe link up a little bit better with Varela there. Varela, oh God, it's a goal. I don't care. I'm going to stop talking. I'm not going to moan. Liverpool have cocked that one up, and you could argue it's karma for the missed penalty, because we do deserve to probably be 1-0 up based on clear-cut chances alone. Goretzka, expect better from him. It wasn't his fault, actually. It was kind of like Svilar, the goalkeeper, and Henderson. I don't even think Henderson was to blame. Sevilla, the goalkeeper, was just asleep. Really important now that we keep our heads in the game. It's nice to see Nano score, though, because I feel like Nano's one of them players where he's coming back in after being injured. You know, it's all about grabbing that first goal, and then the rest will just come. He's not getting any younger at 26, but he's still younger than Andre Gray, and Andre Gray's still performing at the age of 30, even though his physicals are deteriorating, isn't he? He's got 10 goals this season so far, Andre Gray. So if we can get, like, guaranteed 10 goals a season out of Nano, you know, and constantly rotate these players around and have players like Piaka and Yang, and our midfielders, of course, help out with goals, then I think we'll be fine. Oh, they've changed to a 4-4-2. That's interesting. What? They're playing Berardi up front and Henderson out on the right-hand side. Vavra comes on. Sorry about this, guys, but I think the change is a little bit harsher than I expected coming out from Liverpool, and we've got to decide what we're going to do now. Callas is on a yellow card, so I might have to specifically tell him to ease off tackles, because we can't whatsoever afford to have Callas sent off at this current moment in time. We'll leave things the way it is, and it's about deciding who is going to be the right person to come on for Piaka, and I feel like Marco Rog is that right person. 17 work rate, he's not got the best at tackling, but he will track back, you know, and he'll do a lot of dirty work, if you get what I mean. Rog is on the left. Tell him to stick close to Henderson. Niang is on the right. Tell him to stick close to Coutinho. In terms of our instructions, we'll leave things exactly how they are. We had a decent first half, but most importantly, keep an eye on the stats and try and adapt. I'm not too worried about Alenya being on 6.3. That's just dumb because he missed a penalty. Alenya is going to whip the ball into the box, and Morales is going to score, but it's offside. Now, Liverpool have actually played pretty well, which you'd probably expect given the fact that they've got two up front. We've not actually seen any key highlights from them so far, so I'm not entirely sure where most of their attacks are coming from. 70 minutes in, I wanted to make a change there, but let's just see this highlight first. This would be a real kick in the teeth if Liverpool grab a goal here. Yunus Mali's come on, who's not the best physically, which is something we can look to maybe exploit. But we need to make sure we don't concede right now. Firmino, we should be able to tackle him, and Volkvist does exactly that. And now we should be able to... In fact, I'm not even that bothered about counter-attacking specifically, as long as we keep it tight. You know, take our time with the ball, frustrate Liverpool, and don't shoot from outside of the box, which Rog is going to do, which isn't ideal given his finishing. But the fact that that was kind of a highlight tells me a lot about the game so far. Liverpool, Yunus Mali out on this right-hand side, not the best physically, really more of a playmaker, and it's just a case of how we're going to keep these guys quiet now. Now, to be honest, it's difficult because we've not really seen that many highlights, and, you know, we've not really been able to assess where most of their opportunities have been coming from. But as you can see, as you'd expect with the 4-4-2, the fullbacks are really, whipping in quite a lot of crosses. In particular, Nathaniel Klein. And the side that Nathaniel Klein's coming down is this, which is our left-hand side. And I feel like the more this game progresses at 1-0 to us, the more Nathaniel Klein's going to start bombing forward. I feel like one important thing to do, given that these fullbacks are going to be bombing forward, is to give these centre-backs a bit more of a handful at the moment. And I don't actually think or feel like Nano is that man. So first thing we're going to do is actually bring Rog back here and make him a wide playmaker on support. And tell him to mark tighter, and tell him to stay tight to Yunus Mali, just to give Augustinson that extra bit of support, if you know what I mean. And I'm going to tell Augustinson to just sit on defend. This is where most of Liverpool's attacks are going to be coming from. I'm not too fussed by it. Romeu's going to come on as a ball winner. I do feel like him as a ball winner will really kind of assist us right now. Hopefully once we hit the 80th minute, maybe go a little bit more direct and just try and force Liverpool into defending, basically. Oh, Jesus Christ, that goalkeeper's really having a tough time today, isn't he? In front of the Anfield crowd. And I think it's probably a good time to make them changes I was talking about now. Particularly as both their centre-backs, have yellow cards. So we're going to try and tackle them hard, just to try and really piss them off. And look to show them both on their weaker feet as well. That'll increase, the probability that they will end up making a mistake. Barbosa will come on for Nano. And we'll just make Barbosa really just play as a deep line forward. Oh, do we want a deep line forward? Let's make him a complete forward, but on support though, and just see if he can start causing them centre backs problems. He definitely has the ability to. In terms of how we are going to approach this last 10 minutes, for now, I'm just going to lower our tempo a little bit, tell them to be a little bit more disciplined, and just go from there. Now, Liverpool do have a bit of a history when it comes to scoring late goals against us, but judging by the fact that Varela's just picked that ball up, we should be okay. I've jinxed it. Varela should not have lost the ball there. And, to be fair to Callas, he made up for that. But we're playing like absolute idiots right now. Is it really this difficult to clear a ball? Oh, God. 86. Right, we've got possession, which is good. What can Yang do? We've lowered our tempo down. You don't have to run... Okay, dribble less, so we are less likely to do mistakes like we've just seen. And that should be sufficient. Nyang will drop down here as a winger on support. Make sure he's man marking, tight marking, man marking the right man. Tell Chesney to distribute to Barbosa up front. And that should be just about enough for us to see the rest of the game out. Good clearance from Morales. And Barbosa. Looked like there was a bit of a lack of communication there between the two. Because I'm not actually sure Nyang would have been offside if Barbosa had kind of, let go of that pass a little bit earlier. I think we're playing with fire right now, though. Virgini's come on to give him that extra bit of pace to make up for Klein coming off, but it doesn't really seem like they've got that much intensity actually. Romeu, as the ball winner, brought on to help us win that ball back in midfield, did exactly that. That was a nice example of it. And you guys can see why I brought him on. And to be honest, look, we've had 2 1-0 wins in this double episode against 2 very good teams. So how did Man United do? Woo! They beat Chelsea 5-0. Jesus Christ. Mourinho's going to be loving that one. And Arsenal beat Palace 3-1. So, if we didn't win this game, probably would have dropped down as low as 3rd. But we did win the game. Now, it's going to be tough. It's the good old-fashioned Christmas fixture congestion. So, Villa in a few days' time, and then 3 days later, United. So I probably will be looking to some of the youngsters for the Villa game. Now, I think we lost to Aston Villa earlier on in the season, or am I thinking of last season? I think I'm thinking of last season where I think it was we drew against them. No, yeah, exactly. We lost 2-1 against them, and that was really kind of the defining moment that led us to not win the Premier League title towards the end when we started dropping points. So, like I said, it took that fluke goal from Nano. I think we deserved the win in the end, and 6 points I can't really moan about. We got Villa coming up next. The United game I think has to be our next episode, and then from that point onwards, play through the transfer window and see you guys again for the Spurs game. And then, of course, there's going to be a lot of focus on our Champions League run. But we are fighting on a lot of fronts right now. I don't think we've been knocked out of any competition yet, so it is going to be difficult. It's going to be important that Andre Gray, of course, comes back to fitness. Dionisio's out with a hernia for a few weeks, and I think that's going to be it for now. I feel knackered after this episode, and the funny thing is I end up editing a lot of the stuff that actually goes on out of episodes. So like when I'm tweaking and stuff like that, sometimes I just don't feel like I feel like the information is kind of obvious, so you guys don't really need to see it. And at the same time, it's about making sure episodes don't become too long. Because seriously, I mean, I'm looking at OBS right now. This episode would be about 50 minutes long with the sheer amount of tweaking I was doing throughout that entire game. But of course, it'll probably only be around 20-25 minutes. But always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I can't believe we've surpassed 1,000 subscribers. That is fucking awesome. Sorry to swear, but you're probably used to it by now on this channel. Yeah. See you next time.